Hey guys, Dan here with Battlefield Curator, and you want to know how I really amassed such a grand collection of military surplus in such a short amount of time? Yeah, a lot of times I get comments like, hey, that's a great collection, I'm pretty jealous, or hey, that's a pretty big collection, how did you do it? Well, I'm about to share how I did it, and maybe I'll let you in on some juicy secrets. And of course, this knowledge probably doesn't even apply just to military surplus collecting. It could also apply to other collecting hobbies such as coin collecting or toy collecting. So, if you don't mind, before we proceed, please be sure to pulverize that like button and subscribe for the algorithms. It really helps out with the channel. Thanks. Alright, one of the big things that really kind of paved the way for me to start collecting a lot more often was my career field. I used to be in the U.S. Army, and that was great because it taught me a lot of things about weapons, but once I got out of the military, I realized I had a lot more free time. And I chose a career that was in demand and requires high amount of skill. i.e., I'm in the IT field. Yeah, that's right, because computers are probably going to be around for a very long time, and there's going to be skilled people that need to manage those systems. So, I got into that career field. The other thing was I was working shift work. So, I had some time during the day to go out and venture and go to appointments and get some errands done, and on the way back I'd have some time to stop by some shops and check out the local surplus. Things to take away from the career side of things is, you probably want a career that gives you flexibility, that's pretty good pay, and that's something that's going to be relevant for the future. Because you don't want to pick a career field that's going to go away in a few years and then have to retrain on something new. And you don't want a career field that really takes up all your time either. And you don't want a career field that's not going to pay a lot for your area. So be wise in your career choices, my friends. The next thing, I had side hustles. That's right, I worked at gun shops, I worked in social media marketing, I did photography for real estate. So there's a lot of extra side gigs you could do to get a little extra income. And also a bonus is when you worked with, let's say, a gun shop as a side gig, there's all kinds of things you can learn about the weapons industry. And you'll learn a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes of a gun shop and how they operate. And it also helps with determining value or kind of getting a scoop on what's in demand. So yeah, the main thing about a side gig though is that you get a lot of extra income to put towards your collecting hobbies. So yeah, once I got the career field in check and started having a side hustle, then I started looking at ways to save more money by cutting out expenses and to invest it into other assets like real estate and stocks. Then I would use some of the money that I had left over from investing and say, okay, well, I've got a little bit more money on the side now, so let me put that into my alternative assets, aka these military surplus collectibles. So at that point, I also started learning a lot more about investing, collecting, and just overall finances. And that really helped me out tremendously in being in the right mindset. You gotta be in this investing and money savvy mindset because it's gonna hurt you if you don't. So I eliminated a lot of distractions. I eliminated buying a bunch of lattes. I eliminated going out to eat or going to hang out at bars with friends. I worked on weekends too. That also prevented me from really splurging a lot of money. So because I worked on weekends, it was kind of like, hey, I didn't really have a lot of friends that wanted to hang out during the weekdays. So I got away from a lot of the bad habits that was just sucking away a lot of that money and got into very good habits. So if I was going to give you some advice, I'd say, yeah, get into the good money savvy habits. The other big thing is don't be spending so much money on stupid crap that's not part of your collecting hobby or your area of interest as far as investments. Because what happens is you'll get sidetracked like, oh, I want that new car, or I want this bigger house, or I could afford, a latte every day. No, cut all that crap out, keep it simple, whatever extra residual income you're making, use that to invest, and also the extra, aside from the investment, use for your alternative assets, i.e. collecting hobby. So the next thing I did was I gained a lot of knowledge. I talked to a lot of gun shop owners, I read some books, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, I got interested in collecting these historic weapons, and I enjoyed shooting them. So I really wanted to learn more about them before I got them. So I would find something at a local shop, do a little research, and then go back and hopefully it was still there and take it home. I joined a lot of Facebook groups just to get a lot of knowledge and insight and see what other people are doing or what other knowledge people are sharing. I created an Instagram channel for sharing some of the historic weapons. And I found and connected with a lot of other Instagram channels while doing so and learned a lot through that as well. So getting knowledge is pretty huge when it comes to collecting whatever your collecting desires are. Alright, and the last thing that I did that really helped a lot was, I looked for good deals. I knew what the values were, I knew what my limits were, I knew what to look for. You ever heard that saying that goes, buy low, sell high? Well, yeah, that's where the money's made. A lot of people could do the reverse. They could buy high and then sell for a lower price because they bought too high and then they realize that their money's stretched and they need to sell something and they're like, well, crap, I just bought that thing, so let me liquidate it and get some money out of it to pay some bills. Well, that comes going back to the money management part that I talked about earlier in the video, where you kind of want to definitely put yourself in the right mindset financially and then move on to your investing and collecting. So when it comes down to it, I scoured the web, I scoured local shops, always looking for a good deal or something that is fair value, at least, in my opinion. And then on top of that, I also learned a little bit about how to restore some of these weapons because I found things that were oddly cheap, but I didn't really know too much about working on these weapons. So I would also do some research into what I would need, the parts I would need to repair some of these broken pieces of history. So essentially, I got some of these weapons for a bargain price just by doing a little math and calculating the cost it would take to repair broken weapons or non-functioning weapons. And then I'd have a fully functioning weapon for half the price or even cheaper than what it would cost to buy something that was in good condition or great condition. And then sometimes what I would do is I would horse trade some of the weapons I repaired or some of the other weapons that I had duplicates of or that I didn't want anymore. I would trade it for something that I wanted to add to my collection. Alright, and here's another little bonus tip, a little bonus thing that I did. So when it comes to a lot of folks, I see a lot of folks when they're at the gun store or they're shopping around online and they're talking to me about stuff. Well, I gotta talk to my wife first. And I'm like, okay. I kept a lot of communication lines open when it came to purchasing a lot of the collectible historic weapons. And also doing a lot of history as well, sharing the history, sharing the importance of curating history, and also came to money. Of course, money is going to be the biggest factor when you're talking to your spouse about these things, is that, hey, this is an alternative asset and it holds historic value and monetary value. When it really comes down to a lot of these purchases, it's kind of like I get free reign because I'm always keeping my communication lines open. And I'm being responsible with these purchases and not just putting everything on credit card and getting charged an outrageous amount of interest rate trying to pay it off, or financing some of these things, or going into debt. Got a family to feed, I ain't got time for that. And another thing I do stress is, hey, these can be used in times of need. That's an important part. It's for survival. In case we do need it, we have these for survival purposes as well. So really, there shouldn't be an issue when it comes to talking about these historic weapons with your spouse. Have open lines of communication, be responsible with your purchases, and also stress the historic, monetary, and survivability aspects of these rifles and weapons. So hopefully you guys learned some tricks and tips from what I did, and let me know in the comments if you got any other tips and tricks that you do or how your collecting is going. Just let me know in the comments. I appreciate the feedback. And don't forget to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And as always, be sure to learn history and curate history. Make it a great day.